G'day, citizens. Welcome to the Inforunners. I'm XG, joined today by Algared. How you doing, mate?
Fairly well. I've got to say though, the icon we've got on our screen just doesn't match my understanding of who the character would be.
Well, I just asked for a picture of Hermes in a space scene, and that's kind of what it gave me. So yeah.
Yeah. So Hermes, everything I read is Hermes is clean shaven. He's a ruddy faced youth.
No, he looks a lot more
So
like
there
me.
you go.
Obviously, he's got my body and everything. What are you talking
Whereas that
about?
one looks more like Thor.
What are you talking about? He's got my body and everything. What are you caring about? All right, so what is Hermes? Now, I'm actually really kind of trying to remember exactly when I saw this, but me and SA did do an episode based on lines of code that was found in leaks of an Aegis Hermes, right? So I believe that whatever that was is now transformed into this, and now what we're kind of looking at is these lines of code have now been data mined. This is taken off Hater's Discord, and as you can see here, this is his theory on what this is. So it says kicking around since 4.3.1 includes various bits and pieces of another variant that has popped up for the Apollo. This ship, like the Prowler utility and the Asgard, focuses on modifying the ship to be a bit more of a generalist with a tractor beam for space cargo, right? Now, it doesn't actually list the tractor beam there, so obviously he's seen the tractor beam somewhere else, and it's more than likely on that. And I can actually probably point out that I do think there is a tractor beam on this. But Algared, I thought it was important, you being the lore guy and a bit of a historian, can you fill in some gaps for us on Hermes and Apollo, because they are connected, and they even connect to another little ship. I won't spoil it because you found it. I'll let you.
Yeah.
Tell us.
My initial thought was, Hermes and Apollo, they're the Greek version and the Roman version of the same god. I was actually incorrect. Hermes and Apollo are they're brothers, but they're also often at each other's throats. But the interesting thing that I did find was that Hermes being the Roman god for messages, so they actually end up being the same or similar. Mercury being the equal of Hermes in Rome. So yeah, it was quite interesting. But Hermes is the god of merchants, trade, thieves, messengers, everything except medicine and combat seems to be covered by Hermes.
So for those of us that was actually listening, what Algared has essentially said is that Hermes is interlinked with the Mercury. So you can actually interlink the RSI Hermes with the Crusader Mercury Star Runner.
I was trying to avoid spilling the beans straight away.
But you kind of just like blurted it out, but it's all good. It's all right. You got to work on your delivery, man. Like I was a comedian for a long time, so I could set up a punchline.
I have a punchline right at the beginning. There's no lead up to the joke.
So long story short, I think that what Hater may have missed here is that this has also got data running in it, and I also think that the fact that that Hermes is the messenger of the gods, you kind of can't. We know words have names have meanings when it comes to the names of the ship and the lore team. I cannot unsee that, and I'm going to show you some things that I think we have found that point to a few things about not only this being completely possible, but also that we think it's a data runner. Or the way I would describe it, Agri, you tell me if you correct me, I'm wrong here, but I think it kind of does cargo and data running. And we're going to show you two ways we think that they could possibly do that. And I think you would agree with me on that, yeah?
Yeah, I do tend to think if the names for mean stuff for CIG, and we know they do, the fact that we've got the Hermes coming from RSI and we've already got the Mercury from Crusader, that's kind of a Rome/Greek kind of, if you want to draw a line. The fact that they both are messengers of the gods, the fact that they're both running doing that messages and data running, I can't now get beyond that. I was originally thinking, it's Apollo. I was thinking Apollo and Hermes were really linked and were the opposites of each other. But yeah, the fact that the Hermes and Apollo Hermes and Mercury are the two that are the same. That to me makes me think, yeah. Whereas I was thinking before, yeah, it could be a data runner. Now I'm thinking, messenger of God. I'm now going, yeah, it's a data runner.
Especially when we've kind of found that link between the Mercury and Hermes. I think that's very, very telling. So what we're going to do is going to get in game, and I'm going to go over some stuff that I looked at. I've shared some of this with Algared. Algared's had a look as well, but we're just going to go over it. We're not going to kind of go, this is definitely it, but we're going to show you where a couple of different ways that they could go about it, right? So that's what we're going to start with. And I think I'm going to start here. I'm going to switch over to the game so everyone can see what I'm doing. That would actually help, wouldn't it? Right, so we're going to start here at the back, and I'm actually going to start with the tractor beam just because we're already out here. But for those of you that's been in a Zeus CL, I'm talking about this little panel here at back of the Apollo. I think that will be very similar and akin to the Zeus's little panel, if you've ever seen on the CL, and the arm comes out. It is almost identical in the way it is kind of formed, and I think that there'll be a little door there with a tractor beam. The next thing I kind of want to go over is obviously a lot of people that have looked at this have said, oh, this is far too narrow. You obviously can't get cargo in here. I completely agree. But one of the things I found, and I haven't been able to unsee this, is you essentially can see light in this seam, implying that there's a gap there. And if you get in game and have a look yourself, you can actually see that this seam goes quite deep. Like you can almost see all the way up, like it's not quite connected as well as it normally is. So I think that kind of infers that this whole back part is also a module. And what I mean by that is that it's a module for the devs, not a module for us. But Algared,
yeah, indeed. Yeah, and it's the way CIG build their ships. Like every ship that they build is a modular ship. It's broken into parts deliberately so they can do damage states and explosion states and all the rest of it.
Yep.
And so, have that being a module of the way the ship breaks apart makes sense. Now, that does mean when they're coming to do a module of a ship, they can actually take that out and put a new one in.
Yep. There'd be no need for an airlock on this either. So if you kind of think of the distance or length, and my thinking would be is if you were to kind of make it a little bit more like the Connie, instead of this ramp, you could actually, in fact, have like a cargo lift that could go all the way up, to here. And again, some of the measurements I did with some people in game, if you were to take the entire length of the room up to the neck, it was about 30 meters. Now, a 32 SU cargo container is 10 meters long. So you could theoretically, I'm not saying they're going to do this, but theoretically, you could have 3 32 SU cargo containers in length, and it would all be internalized. And I'm going to show you some other things as well that'll lead into that. But again, remember, you no longer need the dock for this. And again, that also means you wouldn't exactly need the ramp. Also, you could probably have a version that does have the ramp and that this hole just gets bigger because you can kind of see here, there is like it's kind of enclosed. So you could literally just make it wider. And obviously then all of a sudden you could probably fit 2 32S boxes interchangeably next to each other with a tractor beam. So there's multiple ways they can do this. I'm not going to tell you exactly how it's done, but you can see how it could be done.
And I would like to see RSI stick with the lifts. Like that's been their bread and butter from early on. And for me, it's just RSI. It's other manufacturers do the lift and the long ramps.
Yep.
RSI do their lift.
Yep.
So having this go back to a lift type idea would be nice.
Really quick while I'm thinking of it, there's one external thing I want to show real quickly in regards to data. And that's obviously when you get into the chair, it would be essentially, I've got to power it on, that might actually help. Is the already powered on. Okay, there we go. Is the search and rescue
scanner
dish on top. You'd be essentially converting that to more of a kind of like what's on the MSR, or a radar dish, or something akin to the Herald or something like that. So that is essentially your utility amount. So that would be changing over to something else. I think you'd kind of agree with me on that, Algared, in to go from scanning to.
I tend to agree. It kind of it'd be interesting to see whether that sensor dish is also similar to the sensor dish on the on the Aquila, that dorsal one. But
all right, so
tossing things out there.
Yep. So I think you'd probably agree with me that these glass walls would have to go, because you'd obviously want to put the cargo across. If they were to keep the walls, one of the things they could do is obviously make it a climate controlled cargo bay, which would also be interesting. I wouldn't rule either of those out, but obviously trying to get the cargo in, it would be very beneficial if the walls didn't exist, because obviously that makes us incredibly narrow. I also think there's a possibility that they knock these walls out, because one of the things I've noticed is essentially you've got these two walls and you've got this engineering terminal. But if you take note of the way this looks without the engineering terminal, it's exactly the same as the panel that's down this end, and you could just put the engineering terminal down this end, and therefore you could knock out these walls, right? Then the other thing that me and Algared noticed just before we started recording is these look kind of familiar. And then I kind of said to Algared, I said, hang on a minute, if you kind of pictured this as a modular piece, like this piece sitting here, these are data banks.
And as you were saying it, I'm thinking, they look like data banks.
Yeah.
Because we've been talking the data running thing, and he said, these look like, and I went, data banks. But yeah, it is one of those things, and once you see it, you can't really unsee it. It just looks like they haven't been gimbaled up with their lights and
their little computer screens and stuff that they normally have, like on the MSR.
Now, it could just be gribbles. But
yeah, I just can't unsee it though, with the way that they're like these have no functional benefit at all on the Apollo, right? Or the triage or the medivac. So what are they for? Why are they there? And it just can't unsee it. It just makes so much sense all of a sudden. And they are on both sides, so maybe this just becomes a data room, and it's maybe just this room here that goes. Who knows? Again, we're just giving you what we see, give you the information, I'll let you make up your own decision, and let us know in the comments below your thoughts as well. Not sure about a scanner seat like on the MSR, but I would think that it would have to be somewhat centrally located. So I've actually considered that it could be right here. It would actually be a good spot for it. But again, if you've got the cargo there, then it might be in the way. So maybe it's just the co-pilot seat that does the scanning. I've got no idea. We'll have to kind of wait and see how that shakes out.
They could keep that as a co-pilot seat.
Yeah,
doing the scanning, because they've currently got the co-pilot seat doing the scanning for the Apollo. So, if I was building a ship, and if I was a shipbuilder and I had a console that already did the scanning, I wouldn't redesign the whole ship to put a new scanning seat in. I'd just change the code to change what the scanner was doing. So, if that makes sense.
So one of the things we did talk about. And again, I'll just give you another option that me and Algared kind of went over. If you think of data, it is essentially cargo, right? So this is fundamentally a cargo ship like the Mercury Starrunner. And what we were thinking initially was, and I don't know, it could be this as well, I'm just going to bring it up, is the two modules that this comes with. So unlike the MSR, the Apollo that has the 3 different versions of the medical bed, this just has a cargo module or a data module. And unlike the MSR where you have both, you choose. So do you get more data but less cargo, or more cargo and no data? And that was where we were going initially. And like, we've actually looked at this again. If you pulled this all out, it could just be a giant open space. Obviously you can remove the toilets as well, because they would no longer be needed as well, because there's actually a toilet in the front for the crew anyway. So I'm wondering how vast they go with this. And one of the things I did say to you last night too, Algared, when we were talking about this, was if you kind of think about how they've built modularity, why, and if you look at again, I'll just alt tab back over this, because this kind of is where I kind of got the idea, is this is clearly a child-parent relationship. If you know anything about hierarchical structures and how these are kind of laid out, I was saying to Algared, I said, why couldn't you put modules within modules? right? Applying that the inside of the ship was a module, and then inside within that, you'd have the docking port as a module, you'd have the left and right side as a module. So therefore, couldn't you just have the whole interior back swap over? And that's when, Algared, you brought up the thing about the Connie. So yeah, if you could,
And the other thing is, like, apart from the way they built the Connie, where they, they're making sure all the parts link up, that also sounds very much like the box system they use, the room system.
Yes,
it's just a room in a room in a room in a room, and
but it was when you brought up that stuff about when they first made the Connie. So because that's really poignant to
So
this.
When they were first doing the rework of the Connie, they and it was the same time Josh Kearns was working on the Phoenix, and everyone was looking forward to the full rework of the Phoenix, and he just did the body section. But there was another show they did where they were talking about how they were getting the Connie ready for damage states, and they said, we've broken the Connie into 4 parts, and that means we made it so every cockpit on a Connie could be attached to every neck could be attached to every body could be attached to every tail. So it would be feasible for them to bring out a Connie that had a Taurus tail, a Phoenix middle, an Andromeda center neck, and an Aquila nose. Yeah. So they could give a whole, and they could juggle them around any way they wanted. I think that's not saying it's for us, but that was a tool that they would have available to them.
It almost feels like the infancy of the modular system, and that's what I'm saying. Like, if you're going to finally get round to doing the modular system, why wouldn't you utilize it almost across the board? And I'm almost wondering if this is what this was. It was a test case to just push the modular system to where they wanted it to go, and test every variant of it that they kind of wanted. So being like, again, like you said, having rooms on the inside that swap over, but then have modules within rooms. So almost in a way that, like I said, modules within modules. And I would absolutely go there, because it just allows you to do stuff beyond the scope of that you're even thinking of at the current time. So yeah.
Yeah, I was just looking at the information on Hermes, and one little paragraph just caught my attention. In Roman mythology and religion, many of Hermes' characteristics belong to Mercury, a name derived from the Latin merx, meaning merchandise, and the origin of words merchant and commerce. So, again, I can't, when those two names are so linked, I can't unsee the Hermes, the RSI Hermes, being very similar to the Crusader Mercury Star Runner, and that says to me, data running, cargo, and where I sit is, you asked me the question the other day, if it's a data runner, how do you make it different? If it's a modular ship, how do you make it so it's less than the bespoke, or the one that's standard? And I think the way you do that is you make it one or the other, or as you were suggesting, the possibility of shrinking that ability.
Well, now, even with what you were saying there, it even makes me wonder if there's even a remote possibility of a shop module. Just the way you said merchant.
Oh, look.
Yeah.
The modules on the Apollo, just taking out those 2 medbay modules, without even changing the tail, you could change the ship into anything. Just by swapping those modules out. Now, whether they make modules that we could buy and swap, put into any of the Apollo variants or that is another thing. But I can't unsee that. The other thing that we thought of related to the Hermes, was the idea of it being able to
the analytics stuff,
do the analytics stuff. So gather the information and crack it down and encode and decode.
And Algared remembered this. I had actually forgotten it. But he's talking about the General Science Pod 2. So do you want me to read it out for you, Algared? Or yeah. So it says,
you can zoom in as well, so that people can
zoom and enhance.
Read it as well.
Right. Okay. Hang on. Zoom and enhance.
Zoom and enhance. We'll get our tech going.
Yeah. So General Science Pod 2, or the GSP, is the Endeavour's analytic module with installation points for a variety of scientific computers and data banks. The GSP is orientated towards inward-facing process of data gathering elsewhere, features extensive systems for tuning the raw information gathered by the GPR and telescopic array into valuable data for sales and trade. So that's like analyzing the data. And I think if you kind of look at some of the smaller ships, they might have the ability to collect the data, but not the ability to analyze it. And that was another way we started to think of how you could differentiate it from the MSR, because you obviously don't want them to be directly butting heads, as in, but again, like when you look through, say, the medical field, you can understand they all have a distinct role. The dropships, you can look and see they all have a distinct role. How do you give a distinct role to data runners beyond just, you know?
Yep.
So I'm wondering, what are the modules for this? Is it just one module and it's cargo and that's it? And, you know, it is the data rooms at the back, or is it literally data or cargo, or is it analytics or a shop or whatever?
And if you think about it, the analytics, you know, the general science pod on the Endeavour is literally the data runner's refinery.
Yeah.
That's where you crack the information, you change it into something more valuable, you crack the codes, or you encrypt it to make it safer.
Yep.
So yeah, to me, it's just refining information.
And that's going to be really important too, because not just collecting data, but like explorers, if you like, and pirates and stuff like that. Like, you know, you mentioned at one point that he was, what'd you say about Mercury? It wasn't Mercury, it was Hermes. It's something about thieves. You mentioned he was like a...
Yeah, he's, let's say he's widely considered the protector of human heralds, travelers, thieves, merchants, and orators.
So again, you can see a pirate that essentially has stolen some data and he wants to find out the location of someone, so he's got to crack him with the data banks. You can totally see how this all kind of comes together.
And you know, I'm a data collector, and X has raided my ship, and I've encrypted all my data, so he's got it. But so what? If he can't decode it, it's useless to him.
Exactly. I've got to find out Algared's password is password 123. Yeah, cool. But look, I guess in a weird turn of phrase, what we're kind of giving you guys is enough rope to hang yourselves, because normally it's the other way around.
Yeah. We've already taken the rope and you know, looped it and got it ready.
But it was, I just think it's really interesting to see where this is going to go, because it like, again, we've narrowed that field, and we've kind of shown you the kind of options. And I guess what I want to hear in the comments is like, where do you think this is going to go? Is it just a straight cargo thing? I cannot get away from the data running element of this at all. Like, I think names mean things to the lore people, and the fact that the Mercury and the Hermes, really strong to me.
That made it really strong. But I'm even thinking about, even when the Hermes was mentioned, you know, we mentioned it, Paul says, it's a data runner. You know,
well, even
mention it to...
You even just in the last sentence you read, linked it to the Herald. You literally said the protectors of travelers and heralds.
Yeah.
So it's now linked to the Herald and the Mercury.
So, yeah. You know, but, you know, you mentioned it, Paul, Hermes, that's Messenger of God's data runner. You know, you mentioned it, you know, when you mentioned it to me, I straight away said data runner. You mentioned it, Grim says data runner. You mentioned it to...
Non-stop Bobs.
Non-stop Bob, he says, data runner. You know, just the name invokes that idea. So I can't see it not having that element. But how they put that in, that's what we don't know.
And again, CIG have said themselves that data is a form of cargo. It's just a different type of cargo. So I just can't escape that at all. And I think it is very strong contender. We know that they've been working on hacking and stuff like that in the background. So is this the ship that heralds the coming of... Yeah, I did that deliberately.
Yeah.
The coming of data running.
And if you're hacking, you need something to be able to hack. So having something, and this goes back to that encryption idea.
Yep.
If you're wanting to hack something, you need to be able to also encrypt it. So you make it harder for hackers. So
same thing with scanning. When you're scanning and you're finding details, where do you store that information? Where do you transport that information? Right. Much like you probably going to see an episode that we've recorded before this that's going to come after this. But we did one on the Saber Raven, and the Saber Raven has the data running capabilities.
So
what would you like to hear personally, Algared? From I guess you kind of said that a little bit, but what do you want to hear from people in the comments below?
Yeah, how do you think what do you think the Hermes will be in terms of being an Apollo variant? How do you think they'll bring it in? Do you think it is a data runner or just a commerce ship? What other variants do you think of that tie in with the name of Hermes?
Yeah, I think I'll kind of add to that and just like kind of ask, is this a ship that would interest you? And I think the negative part of this I'd probably ask is, does it kind of worry you that it's stealing the silhouette a little bit from the Apollo being that more dedicated medical? So I think it leans into scanning being more required, but that's kind of my own answer to that. But I'd like to hear what you guys think as well. So yeah. All right. With that then, don't forget to like, subscribe, ring that notification bell, and thank you everyone that went the extra mile on Patreon at the end of the video. With that then, he's been Old Man Hurston himself, Algared.
And he's been Execute, and we're out of here. Take care.
See you, citizens.